a quiet desert city, surrounded by sand, silence, and secrets, police enter a trailer that smells of decay and despair. Inside, tucked away in a plastic bag, they find the unthinkable, the tiny body of a baby girl. When the father was questioned, he laughed. No remorse, no grief, just that eerie, hollow laughter echoing in the police station. How could one man murder not one, but two of his own children? How did he hide the truth across states, evade suspicion for years, and later behind prison walls emerge under a new name and a new identity? This is the story of Jessica Marie Hann, once Jason Michael Hann, a drifter, a deceiver, and a convicted child killer whose crimes shocked every corner of America. But how did it all come to this? You're watching All True Crime Network, where we uncover the darkest, most gripping real-life stories of crime and consequence. If you crave deep dives into true cases, where every fact is real, every emotion raw, hit subscribe now and join our growing community. Our first victim was little Montana May Hann, just 10 weeks old. 10 weeks, a life that had barely begun and ended before the world even knew her name. She never had a chance. Montana was born into a life on the move, a transient world where nothing stayed still. Her parents, Chrissy Lynn Wernz and Jason Michael Hann, drifted from place to place, a trailer in desert hot springs, a stop in Arkansas, a brief stay in Maine, always packing, always running, but never from the truth. They were a young couple trying to hold life together, or so it seemed. Chrissy, hopeful, Jason, charming at first, but beneath the surface there was tension, instability, shadows that followed wherever they went. They had another child too, a baby boy. He would later be found clinging to life, battered, broken, but alive. It was Montana's death, though, her silent, unseen passing, that finally set off the alarm that would unravel everything. Her mother had dreams, a new start, a chance to build a family. But the chaos of moving, the secrecy, the fear, something was terribly, terribly wrong. Young Montana's life ended far too soon. And as we look back, we remember her not as a case number, not as evidence, but as a little girl who should have had birthdays, laughter, a future. Her short life calls us to ask, how did this happen, and why? Before the name Jessica Marie Hann ever appeared in headlines, there was Jason Michael Hann, a drifter, a man who never stayed long enough to leave roots or to face what he'd done. Public records tell us little about Jason's beginnings. His past is a haze of half-truths and shifting addresses, trailers, motels, short-term jobs, always moving, always starting over. And behind every move, something darker seemed to follow. By 2001, the couple, Jason Hann and Chrissy Lynn Wernz, were living in Desert Hot Springs, California. It was there they had their baby girl, Montana May Hann. But what no one knew was that the shadow of another child already hung over them. Just months earlier, in Vermont, the couple had lost another baby, a 2-month-old boy. His tiny body would not be found for years, until police opened an old storage trailer in Arizona. Inside, sealed in plastic, they discovered the infant's remains. When that discovery was made, and later when Montana's body was uncovered in Arkansas, hidden in a plastic container, investigators began to connect the dots. 2 babies, 2 states, 2 deaths, and one couple that always seemed to vanish before the questions caught up. Those who knew them described a volatile relationship. Sudden anger, long silences, constant travel. There were warning signs, neglect, injuries, cries for help ignored, but no one stepped in. Not in time. Every move, every new town was another chance to escape suspicion. And then came the twist no one expected. While on death row, Jason Michael Hann petitioned for a gender and name change, becoming Jessica Marie Hann. It was a change that sparked new questions about identity, deception, and whether the person behind those crimes had truly changed or simply found another mask to wear. But how did the truth finally come to light? How did investigators piece together this nightmare that spanned states and years? That's what we uncover next. It was early 2001, in a quiet Arkansas town, when a property owner opened an old storage trailer that had been abandoned for months. Inside, under dust and heat, lay a plastic container, the kind used for food or maybe keepsakes. But what was inside was neither. When investigators opened it, they found the body of 10-week-old Montana May Hann, wrapped in a plastic bag, stored inside that Tupperware box. Her parents had left her there and vanished. The couple, Jason Michael Hann and Chrissy Lynn Wernz, had already moved on. They'd traveled more than 1,000 miles to Maine, carrying with them another child, a young boy who, when finally seen by doctors, was found with life-threatening injuries. Police traced the couple to Portland, Maine. When they were arrested, the details of what they left behind began to surface, pieces of a grim puzzle that stretched across years and state lines. In Arizona, another discovery shocked investigators: a second infant's remains. A 2-month-old boy, killed while the couple lived in Vermont, his body hidden for years in another storage trailer. 2 children, 2 states, 2 hidden graves in boxes meant to preserve, not to bury. The pattern was undeniable. The moving, the neglect, the deception. Each new place another escape. Each innocent life another secret to hide. When police confronted Hann, witnesses said he smirked. No tears, no shock, just an eerie calm, as if none of it mattered. His partner, Chrissy Lynn Wernz, would later be sentenced to 15 years to life for her role, admitting to helping hide their children's bodies. But how would prosecutors tie Hann directly to the murders? How could they prove intent across state lines, across years, when so much had been hidden and so many questions remain? The investigation that followed would unravel a web of lies, evidence, and revelations that no one could have imagined. That's next. When the bodies of 2 infants were found in separate states, detectives knew this was no coincidence. They began to follow the trail, a trail left by Jason Michael Hann and Chrissy Lynn Wernz, a couple who moved constantly, crossing state lines as easily as others crossed the street. Detectives from Riverside County, California, and Arizona worked side by side. They dug through rental agreements, old storage leases, vehicle registrations, and motel receipts. Every scrap of paper was a breadcrumb, leading them from California to Arkansas, from Arkansas to Maine, and finally to Arizona. Forensic experts uncovered vital links: fingerprints on storage containers, baby clothes stained with biological evidence, DNA traces that told a horrifying truth. Each test, each lab report, drew the circle tighter around Hann and Wernz. They also discovered that the couple had left their surviving son behind in Maine, critically injured, his tiny body showing signs of severe trauma. He was placed into foster care, later adopted, one small miracle in a story of devastation. The bodies found in those trailers told a story of neglect, concealment, and fear, a grim testament to how far the couple would go to hide their crimes. Witnesses later revealed that Chrissy Wernz had told people about Hann's violence, but they were always moving, slipping through gaps in oversight and jurisdiction. Each new town meant new neighbors, new authorities, new anonymity. The system couldn't catch what never stayed still. Then came the breakthrough. Inside a rented trailer in Arizona, investigators found the body of the couple's earlier 2-month-old baby boy, killed years before while they lived in Vermont. The discovery tied both deaths together: 1 family, 2 murdered infants, and a surviving child barely holding on. With that evidence, the case exploded. Jason Michael Hann was charged and ultimately convicted, his crimes laid bare in a courtroom in Indio, California. In 2014, jurors listened, deliberated, and recommended the ultimate sentence: death. If you're still with us, you're clearly drawn to the truth, no matter how dark it gets. Make sure to hit subscribe to All True Crime Network and never miss the real stories behind the headlines. The courtroom became the final destination of a trail that had crossed half the country, a trail marked by abandonment, trauma, and death. Prosecutors laid it out in stark detail: 2 murdered infants, a 3rd child barely surviving, a couple constantly on the move, leaving horror behind them like discarded luggage. They argued that this wasn't misfortune, it was murder. First-degree murder, with special circumstances. The concealment, the cross-country escape, the storage containers, all, they said, revealed a mind capable of cruelty beyond comprehension. The defense pushed back. claiming Chrissy Wernz was the primary caregiver. They said Jason Michael Hann suffered mental health struggles, that their constant movement was about unstable work, not a plot to hide murder. They suggested the deaths were tragic consequences of neglect, not intentional killing. But the prosecution wasn't finished. They brought forward a foster care caseworker who described the couple's lifestyle, unstable, unpredictable, and the toddler they brought to Maine, in critical condition, bones broken, body failing. They presented rental agreements that traced state after state, storage contracts that revealed children hidden instead of buried, and witness accounts of Hann's chillingly calm demeanor, as though none of this tragedy belonged to him. After days of testimony and hours of deliberation, the jury delivered a decision that echoed across the courtroom. On February 21, 2014, jurors recommended the death penalty for Jason Michael Hann for the murder of baby Montana. It was rare, a father sentenced to death for killing his own children. A verdict meant to send one unmistakable message. There are crimes so dark, so unforgivable, society refuses to look away. But the story doesn't end with a gavel strike, because while awaiting execution, he would undergo a transformation that stunned the public and complicated the path to justice. The courtroom may have gone silent after the verdict, but the story of Jason Michael Hann, now Jessica Marie Hann, was far from over. Following the jury's recommendation, Hann was sentenced to death and transferred to California's death row. Years later, court filings revealed a new chapter. From the confines of prison, Hann formally petitioned to change gender identity and legally became Jessica Marie Hann. Meanwhile, Chrissy Lynn Wernz, Montana's mother, faced her own reckoning. 15 years to life in prison for her role in the deaths. The couple's surviving child, the little boy rescued in Maine, was adopted, finally placed in a safe and loving home, far from the chaos that nearly claimed his life. For the families of the victims, justice brought no celebration. There was relief that someone was held accountable. There was sorrow for two innocent lives lost before they began. And there was frustration with a system that missed the warning signs again and again. In the years since, the Hann case has forced investigators, social workers, and lawmakers to confront difficult questions. How do transient families slip through the cracks? Why were multiple reports of neglect never enough to save those children? And what safeguards can stop the next Montana or Jason Jr. from becoming another forgotten file in a storage trailer? Jessica Marie Hann remains on death row today, a haunting symbol of cruelty, deception, and the fragility of life in the shadows of America's forgotten corners. This case is more than a headline. It's a story of broken families, of tiny lives lost before they had a voice, of justice delayed and justice demanded. Could Montana May Hann have been saved? Could that 2-month-old baby boy, whose body lay sealed away for years, have lived if someone had seen the signs sooner? This tragedy forces us to confront the gaps in our systems, the missed reports, the transient lifestyles, the unchecked neglect. It asks us to look closer at the cracks where the most vulnerable can disappear, unnoticed. And then there's the transformation. Jason Michael Hann becoming Jessica Marie Hann, a shift that raised profound questions about identity, responsibility, and the way society views redemption behind prison walls. In the end, 2 children are gone. Their memory reminds us that justice is not just about punishment, it's about prevention, awareness, and compassion. The things that might save the next innocent life before it's too late. You've been watching All True Crime Network. If this story moved you, subscribe and turn on notifications. We bring you gripping, real-life true crime stories every week. Until next time, stay safe and stay curious.